Many of you might remember Jordan Edwards. Jordan was shot in the head by this police officer, this reckless police officer. And many of you might remember, and I remember the one thing that broke my heart is when I found out he was born in 2001 and was killed in 2017. Way too young, especially over the foolishness that he was killed over. So you may remember Jordan, his brother, and I believe a cousin went to a house party, and the police was called, I guess, because it was just kind of loud. Well, Jordan and his brother, they were leaving the party. It was three black males in the car. They were actually leaving the party when the police came up. And this cop really should have just let them go. They were leaving, they were not going to be a problem. But instead of doing that, as they're leaving, pulling away, this officer gets out and starts firing rounds with an AK-15. He fired, I believe, 5 rounds into the car and struck Jordan in the head. Jordan was a straight A student. He never been in trouble with the law. He never had any kind of legal issues. And I remember his school even rallied around him and said that, he was a model student. And you may remember, here's the officer that shot all wildly at them as they were trying to leave the party. This is former Officer Roy Oliver. And he was convicted recently of fatally shooting an unarmed 15-year-old black boy in 2017. Now, look at the year. I mean, it took them all this time to punish this guy. That is really outrageous. And they said he can also be sued by the victim's family. A panel of federal appellate judges decided Tuesday. Oliver argued in the court filings that he shouldn't be sued because he was entitled to qualified immunity. And again, this also brings up that issue. There should be no qualified immunity. All he had to do when these teens were pulling away, he should have just let them go. There was no need to start pulling out any weapons to start shooting. Nobody in the car was armed. All right, so he's trying to argue about his qualified immunity, which protect government employees from litigation for doing their jobs. When he shot into the car of teens and killed Jordan Edwards, Judges Carolyn Dean King and James E. Graves Jr. of the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals disagreed. Their 17-page opinion, published Tuesday, focused on the technical aspect of the law. The third judge, James C. Ho, dissented. Edwards' family sued Oliver and the city of Balch Springs in 2017, and a federal district court judge dropped the city from the lawsuit in February. The family was relieved with the judge's decision and said attorney Darrell Washington, who represents them, along with Jasmine Crockett and Tad Spalding, we've seen these kind of cases go into, the total opposite direction, even when there was a clear-cut evidence. So the family was excited to get this news. Washington said, yeah, so now they can sue and he can't use qualified immunity. Only if it was this way around the country, y'all, for all of these cases where unnecessary force was used. So, qualified immunity has long been scrutinized by lawyers and has become a widely controversial subject since the killing of George Floyd by Derek Chauvin. The U.S. Supreme Court in 2020 declined to hear cases re examining the doctrine. Yeah, because they don't want us protected. They want us out here as sitting ducks. Two previous judges had already found Oliver did not meet the merits of qualified immunity, saying a reasonable jury could conclude the car full of teens represented no immediate threat to the officer's safety, making Oliver's use of deadly force unreasonable. Oliver, who declined an interview request from the Dallas Morning News this week, appealed their decision to the circuit court in New Orleans. The issue of qualified immunity is decided apart from the criminal justice system, and a person's conviction of a crime could still be shielded from civil liability, which Ho pointed out. He referenced another case with similar facts in which the appeals court ruled last year that qualified immunity should apply. That kind of head scratcher is just one reason the doctrine is controversial, said David Cole, a Dallas attorney who blogs about the Dallas Supreme Court and federal courts. The jury concluded that he intentionally, without justification, took the life of another person. And there is serious debate in the federal courts about whether or not a convicted murderer can receive qualified immunity for his actions. Cole said of Oliver, that seems jarring, and it seems to illustrate why people have the criticisms that they do about qualified immunity. What happened in April 2017? On April 29th, 2017, Oliver and a second officer, Tyler Gross, responded to a call about a noisy house party at 11:30 p.m. Okay, so this, like I said, was down there in New Orleans. While the officers were in the home, they heard gunfire outside. Oliver, a 6 year veteran of the force, grabbed his rifle from his patrol car parked in front of Edwards. The two brothers and friend, okay, so that was a friend, got in another car to leave. Edwards' brother, Vidal Allen, backed out onto Shepherd Lane. Gross ordered him to stop. Oliver, who testified that he thought the car would hit Gross, and ran towards the vehicle, shooting 5 times. The second bullet went through the passenger window and into the back of Edward's head, killing him instantly. Only 9 seconds elapsed between when Oliver started running with his rifle and the moment he pulled the trigger. There were no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol found in the car or in the house that held the party. The police department fired Oliver 3 days after the shooting. He was found guilty of murder in August 2018, and he was sentenced to 15 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. He was acquitted of 2 counts of aggravated assault for shooting into the car. He is eligible for parole in 2026. So his conviction has been upheld, and he's doing the Amber Geiger thing, trying to appeal, but they're upholding his sentence, and there is no reason why it shouldn't be upheld. But this is really a great case for qualified immunity to be dismantled. He knew what he did to these teens was wrong, but he's going to try to hide behind qualified immunity anyway. But, at least this time the court struck it down and he was not able to pull it off the way that he wanted to. But my condolences to Jordan Edwards' family. You know, who knows what could have happened if he had lived and if not for this reckless cop. And again, when they were trying to leave that party, he should have just left them alone so that they could leave, you know. But you know how these folks do. They make a lot of assumptions that are wrong. So let's say there was gunfire outside. It doesn't say those teens were the ones that did it. Okay. And apparently they didn't. They had, remember, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. None of those things were found in the car. I'm glad he's going to jail, but it really should be a lot longer. It really should. If it was the other way around, Jordan took his life, Jordan would probably be in there for the rest of his life. And that's exactly what Oliver should have gotten. He should have gotten life. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.